Today I'm going to break down the average 401k balance by age, how to actually compare yourself to your peers, and strategies that you can consider to potentially turbocharge your retirement savings. So first things first, what's the magic number? How far are you from it? And does it really matter? According to the recent data by Vanguard, the average 401k balance for people in their mid-50s to their mid-60s is about $244,750. For those in their mid-40s to mid-50s, that number is closer to $191,000. And for savers between their mid-30s and mid-40s, their average 401k balance is about $97,000. Now, although there is an idea that there's a magic number out there as far as retirement savings are concerned, which, in doing some reading, that number tends to fall somewhere around 1.26 million, the real question becomes, how is it relevant to your situation? When you take a minute to digest the recent data cited by Kiplinger, for instance, the median 401k balance for those between the ages of 55 and 64 is about $185,000, while the median balance for those between ages 65 and 74 is closer to $200,000. The significant gap between the assumed target of 1.26 million and the reality of what the numbers are between the different age groups brings to question, what does it mean for you? A big reason for the disconnect here is that this number cited of 1.26 million is a generalized number and doesn't take into account your personal situation. It's based on average expectations with regards to lifestyle, time in retirement, and expenses over time, which again are different for everyone. Some people could end up needing far less than 1.26 million should they decide to do things like downsize in retirement, move to a less expensive area, or moderate their lifestyle spending. Others, however, could need in excess of $10 million for retirement, particularly those that were higher income earners during their working years, have higher expenditures on things like housing or assets that require maintenance, or prefer more luxurious lifestyle experiences and vacations. While it's easy for us to see why so many people will fixate on the headlines as far as 401k numbers and averages are concerned, it can sometimes feel like a measuring stick. And if your assets are not up to par with what you read, you could feel like you're far behind. But the reality is, averages don't always tell the whole story. And the problem is, averages tend to consist of a small group of people who might have exceptionally high balances which end up skewing those numbers. Imagine a group of 10 people. 9 of them have $30,000 balances, while 1 of them has a $3 million balance. The average balance for the group then jumps to $327,000. And the problem here is that number is not representative of what most of the people included in the group actually have. This is exactly what happens when it comes to average 401k balances. The people at the top of the group tend to pull the average number higher, creating a potentially unrealistic picture. Here's what I would consider to be a more accurate way to look at things. Try finding what the median 401k balances are, where half the people in the group included have a higher balance, and half the people in the group have a lower balance. This number is not always skewed by a small number of accounts that have exceptionally high balances. And the importance here between understanding the median and the average is that it helps you really gauge an understanding of where you stand. When you go through something like comparing yourself to a potentially inflated benchmark, you might end up feeling discouraged or downright ashamed of yourself. And at that point, you might lack the steps needed to catch up in retirement. In fact, data by Empower Retirement, in addition to the Federal Reserve, shows that more than half of Americans, about 54% to be exact, have nothing saved for retirement at all. That includes no 401ks, no 403bs, no IRAs, or other retirement investments. Seeing the average balance as your goal could be similar to the feeling of chasing a mirage. Although it might seem great, it's not giving you a picture as far as reality is concerned. The median, on the other hand, can end up being quite reliable. Although it's not as flashy of a number, it can help you cut through the noise and really give you an understanding of the reality of the situation. Something that I find to be particularly important when reading through wealth distribution is that the numbers by the Economic Policy Institute state that the top 1% of earners control about 32% of the nation's wealth. This concentration of assets can easily skew the average numbers to be much higher than what the reality is. Where the rubber hits the pavement as far as retirement well-being is concerned is what I'm about to talk about next. Factoring in other income sources, such as Social Security or pensions, can also change the picture as far as your retirement plan is concerned. In addition, understanding your claiming strategy for Social Security can add to your overall scenario. Claiming before full retirement age, between ages 66 to 67 for most, could mean a reduced benefit, whereas waiting or delaying could increase that monthly income over time. When you consider this additional income, having a full understanding of your picture and chasing that magic number might not feel as urgent as you originally thought. Another factor in this shift is how retirement is funded and has been funded over the past few decades. In previous years, pensions might have accounted for a larger sum of money, whereas today, more people rely on their own savings with regards to 401ks and IRAs. And here's a mindset shift that could be a game changer. Rather than chasing that generic number, consider really honing in on your spending and understand what your monthly income needs are. Will you maintain your current lifestyle, or do you plan on cutting back? Are there expenses like mortgages, other outstanding debt, or helping family members that you need to take into account? Answering these questions and really having a full understanding of what your expenses are can give you a better idea of your overall picture, again, as opposed to chasing that random number. Let's take this a step further. Another way that you might aim to stress test your assets is after you calculate your annual retirement expenses, multiply that number by 25 years. And that can give you a ballpark figure for the number that you're going to need for retirement. It's very similar to the thought process around the 4% withdrawal rule. Another approach is to aim for an income replacement percentage. And this number might fall somewhere between 70 to 80% of your pre-retirement income. Although these are broad guidelines, they can give you a more realistic idea of what your needs actually are, as opposed to understanding the averages. Now it's time to jump into the good stuff. Let's talk about some of the strategies that I've actually seen used over time. After the age of 50, if you're still contributing to your retirement account, consider aiming for making catch-up contributions. These provisions allow you to contribute more to your retirement accounts when compared to your younger cohorts. This could present a unique opportunity to potentially turbocharge your savings during what might be your highest earning years. For 2025, the IRS allows those 50 and over to contribute an additional $7,500 as a catch-up contribution to their 401k. This, in addition to the normal contribution of $23,500, brings your total for the year to $31,000. Traditional and Roth IRAs offer a similar provision. For those under the age of 50, the limit for 2025 is $7,000, and for those aged 50 and over, the limit is $8,000. Take a minute to reflect on what this could look like for you. It can be especially powerful if you feel like you're behind on your savings, or simply if you want to maximize your retirement saving prior to those years before you hang up the cleats. The timing of these higher limits often coincides with a time in life where your expenditures might be a little less than they were years prior, because you might have been spending money on things like raising children or paying down your mortgage. Potentially having more disposable income means more dollars that you can sock away in your retirement accounts. And here's the kicker. Secure Act 2.0 has another provision for those in their early 60s. Starting this year, if you're between the ages of 60 and 63, you can potentially take advantage of the enhanced super catch-up, where you can make an additional contribution up to $11,250 in your 401k. This increase is designed to give those in that age bracket an additional push before they reach retirement age. For those taking advantage of this additional enhanced super catch-up contribution, your contribution limits for the year could end up exceeding $34,000, and that doesn't take into account any potential employer match. The impact of these higher savings rates can be further amplified if you're able to experience compounded growth over time as well. Simply put, even if you're only a decade away from retirement, the potential for these additional gains to compound over time can grow substantially. There is something to be aware of, though, when it comes to these catch-ups. If you plan on trying to take full advantage, it's very important to understand how your specific plan handles them. Some employers automatically allow eligible participants to exceed the standard contribution limits, while others might make you manually make these changes on your own. It can definitely be a prudent idea to speak with your HR manager to have a full understanding of how your plan works. Even if you can't hit the full catch-up right away, another thing to consider is to potentially increase your contributions by a percentage year over year. The real benefit of catch-up contributions can go far beyond the numbers. These provisions can give one a sense of control and progress towards their goals, especially if you might have faced setbacks earlier in life that prevented you from making the contributions that you wanted to. And I've personally seen in multiple instances where when folks know that they have a tool to enhance their savings as retirement nears, they feel an ease of anxiety and they feel empowerment. And while these catch-up contributions can be a very powerful tool, combining them with the next strategies can make the impact even greater. Number one, start with your savings rate. Increasing the amount that you put away over time can make a direct impact on your retirement account. Doing something like automating your contributions can be especially powerful, whether it be from your bank account or your paycheck. Making these consistent contributions over time in an automatic fashion can remove the thought process of having to think about saving when you don't want to. In addition, many 401k and 403b plans might allow you to choose a percentage to contribute, which you can make adjustments to online. Something I found to be particularly useful in this instance is trying to increase your contribution by 1% per year or increase it whenever you get a bonus or a raise. This might be able to be automated as well. Once put in place, these incremental changes might not seem as big of a burden and could potentially give a great boost to your retirement savings, especially if compounded with the potential for market growth. A quick tip here, which could make the decision even easier. Drill down on all of your discretionary expenses. Minor adjustments, like eliminating unnecessary streaming accounts or choosing to dine out less often, could equate to more dollars that you can contribute to your retirement plan. And the next step might seem like a no-brainer. However, it pains me to see how many people don't take full advantage of this. Understand and focus on maximizing your employer's match. Sometimes considered free money. However, this is such an overlooked situation where, again, many folks don't fully understand it and therefore don't take advantage of it. For example, if you have a $200,000 per year salary and you contribute 6% and your employer matches 50% on that first 6% contribution, your contribution could equate to $12,000 and your employer could end up contributing an additional $6,000. According to Fidelity, 85% of retirement plans on their platform offer some sort of match. However, many employees don't end up taking full advantage and therefore end up leaving money on the table. And the third strategy here is understanding your retirement investment allocation. And is it aligned with your goals and your best interest? Also, very commonly, we see folks neglect to understand how their investments are allocated, which could end up having unintended consequences. Working with your team of trusted professionals can help you align your investment allocation with what your intended outcomes are. In short, having a full understanding of your savings rate, the potential for employer contributions, in addition to your investment allocations, could end up providing a picture for you that you might have never thought possible. Concentrating on the factors that you can control can be especially important and empowering in understanding your overall plan. After drilling down on these important features, understanding the different buckets of retirement savings that you could potentially contribute to can also be a very important factor. And for more on that, check out our next video here.